who broke the laws of God, line 17, column 9. His fate has to do with the judgments upon evil being inflicted upon him, and the outrages of evil pollutions being in taking vengeance upon the flesh of his corpse. Now, Vermesh and other translators will have the body of his flesh or the flesh of his body. Well, flesh and body are the same thing. And the Hebrew word here is giviot. The Hebrew word is giviot, and that is not body. Giviot is corpse. So that makes a lot more sense if you translate it correctly. They didn't take vengeance on the flesh of his body, they took vengeance on the flesh of his corpse. What do you mean? When he was killed, they despoiled, desecrated his corpse, like I told you. What does Josephus tell us about Ananus ben Ananus, my candidate for the wicked priest who was responsible for the death of James? That the zealots, he portrays the zealots horribly. He has them dressing in women's dresses with lipstick on, and he hates the zealots because of what they did to his friend Jesus ben Gamala. Maybe Jesus ben Gamala is the New Testament Jesus for him. I don't know. He's mentioned in rabbinic sources. I have him. You can look him up in my New Testament code. I have a lot of references to Jesus ben Gamala from rabbinic sources. They know about the fact that he married, that he was a Bethusian priest. Bethusians were the priests that Herod brought in from Egypt. He married one of the daughters after he killed the Maccabean wife that he had. He married one of the daughters of Boethus. The Talmud is very big on the Bethusians who are from Egypt, who take the place of the Maccabean priesthood for the Herodians. In any case, this Jesus ben Gamala marries a Bethusian princess, or whatever you want to call her, high lady of some kind, and she's very rich, and it's all in the Talmud about different things about her, her dowry and all this kind of thing. I have it in the New Testament code. But they afflicted upon him the judgments upon evil. Why? What are they angry about? What had he done? In taking vengeance upon the flesh of his corpse. So I think that this refers to the fact that Josephus says that when the zealots and the Idumeans came through, to me the Idumeans will be the violent ones of the Gentiles we get in Psalm 37, Pesher, who do take vengeance on the wicked priest for what he had done to the righteous teacher, it says in the Psalm 37, Pesher. They take vengeance on the wicked priest for what he did to the righteous teacher. Now, they throw their bodies outside the city into the ravines below the walls without naked bodies, without burial, as food for jackals. That's what Josephus said they did to Ananus and Jesus ben Gamala. And that's why Josephus is so upset. But you don't throw people outside the city after berating their naked corpses. Said they berated their naked corpses. What did they do when they berated them and said, "Oh, you're a bad guy"? I think they stepped on their heads, pissed on them, to be crude, did things like that to them. And that's what's being talked about here. He inflicted him with the judgments upon evil and inflicted upon him the outrages of evil pollutions. They polluted his dead body. And then they threw it out without burial as food for jackals. Now you give me any other high priest who you have that kind of detail about, who's responsible for the death of a righteous teacher. That's why I said my colleagues don't bother going into this material. They say, "Oh, we don't understand the material, we can't say, we just have peaceful essays here." Well, maybe you do, but I don't. As for the word, since you spoiled many nations, the additional ones of the peoples will plunder you. So now, the additional ones of the peoples are the last priests of Jerusalem, who gathered riches and profiteered from the spoils of the peoples. How did they profiteer from the spoils of the peoples? The Herodians are the people. They accepted Herodian appointment and sacrifices in the temples. The Herodians spoiled the people. So they profiteered from the Herodian spoiling of the peoples. Now we're getting a real picture of who the wicked priests are in plural. And last priests of Jerusalem. The Maccabees wouldn't be called the last priests of Jerusalem. That's an implication of plural priestly clans, like you get in the New Testament. The high priests, plural, in the New Testament. You know, one high priest succeeding another. Supposedly bribing his way through the Herodian leaders and the Roman governors. So, in the last days, and you wouldn't call the last priests of Jerusalem, I think they're witnessing the last priests of Jerusalem. I think they've already been butchered, as I've told you. We just got a picture of the desecration of the body of the wicked priest. Now we're talking about the plunder that they stole on the top of the violent Herodians. But in the last days, their riches, together with their booty, will be given over to the hand of the army of the Kittim. Well, we know who that is. And they know already that all the riches of the temple are going to go to the army of the Kittim. When did that happen? It didn't happen in, it happened in the Seleucid time, perhaps, when the Daniel material, perhaps. But that's the only one who, you know, pillaged the temple. Pompey, Josephus tells us, went into the inner sanctum of the temple, wouldn't touch anything. Herod paid the soldiers out of his own pocket, he said, in 37 BC, when they stormed the temple a second time, because he didn't want to upset the people to the extent that they wouldn't accept him as a ruler. The only time the Romans pillaged and took the riches of the temple was in 70 AD. And that's what the Copper Scroll is all about, the hiding places of the temple treasure. And Josephus tells us that the Romans tortured the temple treasurer to find out the hiding places of the temple treasure. And they got all the hiding places from him. Now the Copper Scroll tells that there are other copies of this document deposited here or there. I'm sure they tortured this guy till they found out where the other hiding places of the document were. Now people say, well, why can't we go and collect all those hiding places now? Because the Romans already got there and took everything. I assure you, Abu Ghraib is nothing. When you get under Roman torture, you spill it. It's not someone just, you know, subjecting you to humiliation. You're going to spill it or die. You might die anyway, but you're going to